So I am late, guys. I just got caught up in some other stuff. I appreciate your patience, but this is an occasion we've been waiting to put together for a little while, and it's really it's a celebration of sorts. It's really an occasion to mark the great work that so many people have done over the last couple of years, especially. We have, and it's good. It's really good that we're having this on Friday afternoon, so that everybody can walk out of here happy, and it's the weekend. So, just by way of background, so today we're here to recognize employees whose work exemplifies the New Bedford Way. And the New Bedford Way is something we take really seriously here because it's a statement of the principles that this organization stands for. A few years back, actually, it's been a while. So in 3 weeks, it'll be a full decade for me in office, which I just can't begin to wrap my head around. It's been a long time. But early on, in the first couple of years, we thought it would be a good idea to do what a lot of great organizations do, which is to come up with a set of principles that tell everybody what we're about. And I'm often accused by folks in other cities of holding New Bedford up as being the best place to be in the Northeast, and the best of this and the best of that, and they get a little tired of hearing it from me. But I do think we're an exceptional place, and I make no apologies for that. But I thought it would be a good idea to have a set of principles that reflect that exceptionalism, and just to be a guidepost for everything that we do. But I also thought at the same time, this shouldn't be something that comes straight from me. It shouldn't be Mayor Mitchell, the Mitchell administration's values, the Mitchell administration's this or that. It should be about New Bedford, and it should be the New Bedford way, right, to stand out from others. So at the time, and a number of you were involved in this, I tasked department heads with coming up with those principles, right? So that and to work directly with every set of employees about what they think that we should be standing for, and so that it came from the bottom up and not the top down. And through the hard work of a number of you, folks who aren't here, we came up with a statement of values that and you're all familiar with it. It's posted in city offices across New Bedford, but it really is something that we try to, when people say, how do you do things in New Bedford, this is the way we do them. We're about accountability. And that means that we, accomplish things with integrity and honesty and conscientiousness. We're about integrity, again. That it goes without saying that we hold ourselves to high ethical standards. We're about innovation, and that we think outside the box. We're not just doing things because we've always done them that way. We do things because we're in support of a mission of improving the livelihoods of folks in our city. We're all about continuous improvement, relatedly, that we don't stand pat. We try to get better all the time. We're about teamwork, which means that we're about working together, and they're not a bunch of individuals with individual agendas. It's all about the city at the end of the day. And teamwork doesn't work without the last stated value, which is respect, that we take what we do seriously, and that means that we take the residents of our city seriously in their interests, and we work together in support of those interests. And so, you know, those are our touchstones, and you know, we're really blessed that we have employees that have embraced this, and you know, this is a city that, you know, if we are to continue to realize our potential and move ahead and elevate the quality of life here, that we have to keep coming back to this as a guidepost. And I'm so grateful for, you know, for all of you who've won the awards, and we'll get into that in a second, as well as everyone who has been nominated. It was tough to choose among lots of really worthy nominees, and because especially this past year, you know, the challenges have been you know, greater in number and more intense, and people really stepped up, and I just am really proud of you know, what's been accomplished this year. The pandemic continues, but we're still, you know, we are coming out of it a stronger city, even though it's, you know, things have not dissipated. So a couple of things a couple of other things I just want to say is so lots of folks who were nominated, they'll be getting proclamations that we won't later on. There's always next year. We're going to we skipped a year here because of the pandemic. So keep doing what you're doing. And for those that we honor today, you keep doing what you're doing. Don't get a big head over this award. We want you to continue to work it hard, except for one of two of you who are retiring, and I guess you can gloat about it all you want. More to come on that in a moment. So we have a long list because it's been the pandemic, and it's been, you know, a couple of years now because of the pandemic. So the list here is longer than the one we had when we did it 2 years ago. But I can't say enough about this group and the work that you've done. So we're going to get right into it. So the first person that we are going to honor is, let's see, we got, okay, good. These are in order. Thank you, Janet. Not making me work hard. So the first person that we are going to honor today is Dave Amaral from the airport. So the airport over the last couple of years, so among the industries that have been hard hit, it has been the aviation industry, of course, and so because our airport operates as an enterprise account, right? It's sort of self-funded. We don't put taxpayer dollars directly into the operation of the airport. Because of that, it is, you know, it felt the diminishment in business, and so under Scott's leadership, they've done a really nice job keeping everything going, and that meant that a lot of folks had to stretch really far to keep it all going, and Dave Amaral just has done for many years, and this is going to be true for the folks that we're talking about today. It isn't just that they did great during the pandemic. They've been doing great for a while, and it really shined during the pandemic. And Dave has certainly exemplified that. So, where's Olivia? What is that noise?
Somebody's backing up.
All right, somebody's back. Oh, is it outside?
Is there a truck on Market Street?
I don't know. If you need to call the police, the chief's right there. Okay. All right, stand right there. Okay. Good. Glad we solved that. All right. Sorry, Dave. So, you know, we're interrupting your moment. But, you know, he did such a great job this year, just pulling out all the stops, doing the safety checks, doing airfield maintenance, doing everything that just needed to get done to keep the place going. And the airport sometimes, I think, for many folks looks sort of far afield. It's remote and it's not sort of in your, line of vision all the time, but I certainly see what goes on, and I can't say enough about, the level of teamwork and level of commitment that you exemplified, especially during the pandemic days. So you richly deserve this recognition. I just ask you to come on up and get your award. You can unmask. Well done.
Thank you.
Nice job. All right. So the next person I wanted to single out is somebody who was here every single day during the pandemic in City Hall, just so devoted, just getting the job done. I noticed it here over the last year. And it wasn't because of her cigarette breaks or anything like that. I noticed her because of the, I had to do that. So Judy SERDAHL she's been a mainstay in the assessor's office for over 30 years, 33 years to be exact. And especially, so she's a rock in the office and has been for a long time. But what was really important during the pandemic is just, the example you showed of just sticking with it, being there constantly, just being so reliable. But that, as important as that was, but also doing the little extra to adapt. Everybody had to adapt in the last year and a half, and that included assessors and people, the public that you guys are dealing with, was really, trying to figure it out as well. And so people, you guys really bent over backwards. You really bent over backwards to make sure that we're, thinking outside the box, being innovative, getting to understand how to get the job done on certain times. And you're able to make, to keep things going under very difficult circumstances. And so it's, you really deserve this recognition, Judy, and I'd ask you to come on up and accept your award. I think department heads should come on up. So Mike, if you want to. Mike's, come on up, Mike.
I'm smiling under this. Thank you.
Well done. So another group, just the pandemic affected people in a number of ways, and different people more than others. And certainly the city's seniors had their lives really upended. And we have a really strong council on aging that is geared toward accommodating the needs of seniors. And but it was just it's been as good of a job as they have done over the years. It was especially difficult. I don't want to use the past tense about the pandemic. It has been especially difficult on seniors. And so Pam AMARAL-LEMA, who is the administrative manager, the number 2 on the Council of Aging, is somebody that we want to recognize today for doing a lot to ensure that the team was operating well, right? So she always was one of the first to help other employees and did all the little stuff that had to get done just because circumstances dictated. Being a runner for a food runner for drivers to help ease the amount of food deliveries to seniors and the disabled. And that was a big thing. We had to really provide concierge service to lots of seniors in the city. And another big thing that the Council on Aging did, Deb and Pam alike, everybody together was to ensure that we're getting seniors signed up for vaccines. It seems like such a long time ago, right? That when the vaccines first arrived, people were like, well, we got to get them to the seniors, but how do we do that? And so we did it through a number of ways. The health department, Damone and Stephanie and others who were working really hard, EMS, to get vaccines out to the senior living facilities, but that wasn't, the only set of seniors that we had to reach. We had to make sure that people had an easy place to call to get set up. So you guys did a great job making that happen. Pam, you were instrumental in getting over 5,000 seniors in the city set up for those vaccines. And if you do the math, mortality rates among folks of a certain age in the city and everywhere, you could probably translate that 5,000 into a certain number of lives saved, which is a big deal. And so Pam, you did a great job, and I just wanted to recognize you today with a New Bedford Way Award, which is richly deserved. Come on up. Congratulations. There you go. Smile under those. Smile with your eyes. Was that called smiling or?
Thank you. Thank you
Well
so
done.
much.
So I want to recognize two people from DFFM today for just exceptional work. So there were a number of folks who had to step up at DFFM to make sure that our buildings were safe. One of the, and again, this just seems so long ago, but we had. We didn't understand how to what degree the virus was transmitted by air, or alternatively whether it was transmitted by surface. It could be transmitted by surfaces, and so one of the things that had to be done right away is to make sure that everything in our buildings was clean, every surface. And that masks were made available to people, and that, to the extent that there had to be any kind of mitigation, whether it was just if there were any rooms that had to be ventilated or any other steps taken, the custodians in the city had to be there for it. And other things had to be put in place, barriers. And such, and things like the construction of stuff we've seen in City Hall, which is like, which includes, the vestibules that were constructed from scratch. All these things had to be done on the fly, and so we're going to be honoring today two of, frankly, a lot of people in DFFM who really stepped up and put themselves at risk in so doing, and so I really want to salute all of them. But two in particular stand out, because you can't pick everybody, right? As much as so many deserve this, but the two really stood out. So the first is somebody that I get to see every day, and whose work I get to witness, and whose conscientiousness and dedication to the job I get to see every day, and that's JOANN Perry. She, is always upbeat and positive in all of her work. Including with folks who come into the building, some a little more trying than others, but she's always good to them no matter what. And she's really the face of City Hall. So she's been, I think, put a lot of people at ease in doing business at City Hall during the pandemic. And from the moment she showed up in work to the time she left, she was hard at work all throughout the pandemic, making sure everything was disinfected and safe, and it gave everyone in the building confidence that, you know, you could be there safely and get your work done, which we had to do. So, so I'll call each of you guys up one after the other. So JOANN Perry just really exemplifies the kind of work, the teamwork and the dedication and the out-of-the-box thinking that, you know, we hope to inspire in every employee and to demonstrate to the public. So JOANN, thank you so much, and I'd ask you to come on up with Mark and Jen. All right. Jen, hold on, we'll get one more so you can type. All right, thank you, JOANN. Jen, I can't believe you're still sitting next to that guy. The guy with the beard, the guy with the undersized mask with the look at you. You need a full, you need something fuller. Yeah. All right. It's easy for me to make fun of Mark. He still works for me, right? Except on the school side, right? So the other person from DFFM that we wanted to honor today is JJ SYLVIA. So who's been working at DFFM for a while. He started as a carpenter after he graduated from Voc and was promoted to storekeeper because he wanted to make sure that he was continuing to move his career along and is a real go-getter. And in that vein, in that spirit, he's always doing more than what people expect, which is great when you can, right? The old saying, you know, what is the old saying about over-delivering? How does it go? You know what I mean. I forget how it goes, but he's doing, yes. So one of the things that he had to do in the most literal sense of the term was to be resourceful, and this is the way he operates, but he, especially during the pandemic when everybody was sort of scrounging around for PPE and other materials that, other resources that we needed, he was there hustling and making sure that that was happening and that people in city government were getting it in time so that they could continue on with their work, as difficult as that is and has been. And so, you know, it's that kind of hustle, that kind of out-of-box thing, that willingness to just stretch and serve is really a terrific example for everybody. So, JJ, I want to thank you for your hard work and ask you to come on up and accept your New Bedford Way Award.
Thank you.
All right. So, so the next person is the one I was sort of obliquely referring to a moment ago as someone who's retiring is probably going to gloat about this award, and that's one Manuel SILVA. So Manny, this is kind of like Manny's victory lap. It's kind of been like a Manny Silva love fest over the last week or so. But I'm glad we can do this, Manny, because as I said the other day at your party over at DPI, you know, you've really been extraordinary in your work over the years, and it's been through lots of projects, lots of different kinds of projects and leading projects, but also ensuring that they're done just so, because that's doing it just so is what the city deserves. It's what the residents of our city deserves. They want things to be thorough. They want things to look good. They want things to function. They deserve that. And Manny made sure that that happened. And so, but he also was very practical in the work he did, right? So whether it was talking business owners down from wanting to storm City Hall and kill the mayor because the construction project was affecting their business, that happened in than one place across the city over the last few years, but doing that, but also, being really adding to the culture of DPI. Manny always kept things fun and light, and that's what you want in work. You don't want your work environment to feel like it's drudgery. You can work hard and still enjoy one another's company, and that's Manny made that happen all the time. So I'll miss giving Manny a hard time as he heads off into retirement, but I wanted to make sure that all of these things were recognized as he did head off into retirement, because he deserves it. So Manny, congratulations. Next up is EMS, and there are lots of folks in EMS we could recognize today, especially for their work in the last year and a half. And and again, it's just, I know we all feel like it's ancient history, the start of the pandemic, but when we started all this in March of 2020, we didn't know quite what we were facing. All we heard every single day was how dangerous things were getting for people who were exposed to those who had been infected. And of course, it's the folks in EMS that go into the houses and go into just routinely, time and time again, every single day, who are the most exposed, right? Or at least potentially could be. And so earlier on, we're just trying to figure out how to keep EMS safe and firefighters and police officers safe as they went into homes, because I think it's because, we knew, we didn't quite know the risk, but they sounded really bad, and they turned out to be really bad. And remarkably, we were able, over the course of the pandemic, EMS was, over the course of the pandemic, able to find a way to keep its employees safe and still get the job done. And one person who just exemplifies that level of dedication and courage and commitment is Ralph Isherwood, who is a senior paramedic, but who is just someone who has really set the tone for a long time in his career, just getting out there, getting the job done, showing younger paramedics and EMTs how to do it the right way, but also just to keep everybody upbeat, which is so important. Being calm in the moment is huge. This is something that he's known for, and so among many folks in EMS who could be honored today, we really thought that Ralph stood out. And Ralph, we can't say enough about your work over the years, especially during the pandemic, and we're just so pleased to give you this award today.
Dave's going to know how to operate that.
All right, so two folks, so in a very similar vein, in the fire department, again, we had in the last year, and I hate for this to be a history of the pandemic, because I sort of have two minds of this, right? We saw extraordinary work, but we also didn't want people to think like we're done with the pandemic, because yesterday we actually set a new case record, 168 cases, everyone. That's why we're all wearing masks, and this will go right back on when I'm done talking. but it is important that people know what's been accomplished here and who accomplished it. And again, lots of folks could be honored today, but in every department, in the case of fire, much of what I said about EMS applies to fire as well. We have employees who are going into buildings, who are dealing directly with the public, both in response to medical issues, as well as fires, as well as other exigencies. And we had really good leadership in place to make sure that happened in ways that got the mission accomplished and kept everybody safe. So, two folks that we wanted to highlight, and they've gotten accolades very recently from the department, which were deserved. But I just would be remiss if they weren't recognized here. The first is Brian NOBREGA, who's the Director of Emergency Management, of course, which is part of the fire department. But Brian's done it all, and I've seen it firsthand. He's just picked up everything that needed to get picked up and dealt with over the last year and a half. So he's been part of the COVID response team and has been in charge of a number of key aspects of the pandemic response. A huge part of the vaccination program, huge part of the mass distribution program, huge part of the clinics, huge part of acquiring PPE, and very importantly, hoarding it so that we can have some just in case. He has countless masks and other equipment stored in some undisclosed location he hasn't even told me about, just in case, which is great. I don't even need to know, I just need to know you've done it. But, all the while preparing for things like, what did we have in the last year? We had an earthquake, right? He does earthquakes. We had sort of a hurricane trouble. He does those as well. He's working tsunami, blizzards this year, of course, that'll be coming. Locusts, all the Old Testament problems that could visit the city. Brian is on top of it. So, but here's a guy. When I hired him for the position after Mark Mahoney left, I said it was a no-brainer to me because Brian hustles. Brian didn't have a background in emergency management. I knew he'd figure it out. He's figured it out. I knew that whatever we needed him, he'd be there. He has been there, and he's really shined brightly during the last year and a half. I'm just hugely appreciative of what you've done, Brian. So come on up.
Not very good at that. Copy and paste.
Yeah, he's telegenic like that. He could be on like the 6 o'clock newscast doing the weather. It's all good. So I also, from the fire department, I also wanted to highlight somebody else who's just done extraordinary work and has really added. You think about like the things that we try to do as a city, we talk often in terms of capacity. Do we have the people in place to get the job done? And sometimes that requires expertise and unique experience. And in the case of the fire department, we've got somebody who is recognized far beyond New Bedford for understanding hazardous materials response and hazardous materials and things like pathogens, which is what we're dealing with right now. And we've been able to deliver a response to the pandemic to a far greater degree of effectiveness because of the work that he has been able to do. And that's Travis REBELLO, who learned up all this stuff on his own, just figured it out. And he is, you talk to people around the state who are in the emergency response business, they'd say, oh yeah, you got him. He knows what he's doing. And he is, during the pandemic, just led testing and led decontamination responses and led a whole bunch of other stuff that has made everybody a lot safer and made city government continue to go. And he's just a go-to guy. Has been a go-to guy right from the start. So, Travis, I just want to say thank you for what you've been able to accomplish, and you've made us better at what we do and made the public a lot safer in the process. So, come on up.
Well done.
Obviously, the health department has played a role in the pandemic response, fair to say, Damone. You've had to say, thanks to the work that you've done to keep the team together and just to keep everybody focused, and has been really extraordinary. And you've been served by so many strong members of your team, Christine, and so many others that you've brought on during the pandemic. One person that has impressed everybody with her ability to assimilate and analyze data and help us make policy decisions and to respond better and more precisely to changing circumstances has been Stephanie SLOAN. She has been just outstanding over the last year and a half, and her ability to understand the latest science, to translate it into plain English, and to look at the data granularly to get us to a point where we can explain it all to the public, but also to tell the public precisely why we're doing this or that. And that has been, it has helped me greatly over the last year and a half to do what I'm supposed to do in my position. But I think at the end of the day, as we look back at things, when we can look back comfortably at stuff, it will show that the work that she did saved lives, and we're so grateful for that. She is, I like to say that she and her husband, Mike SLOAN, who is in charge of all the police data in the police department, they're the sort of, in city government, they're sort of the brains of the outfit, right? They help us figure things out, and they together have done great work while expanding their family during the pandemic as well. So congrats, congrats on that. So really well done. But Stephanie, we can't say enough about your analysis, but also just the little things that you do to pitch in, just working the clinics, doing the outreach, doing all the things that have made the health department so effective. And so it is, with great pride that I can bestow upon you the New Bedford Way Award for this year. All right. Next up, here we are in the library, and we wanted to make sure that we honored somebody in the library system because one might say, well, the library system isn't, was largely unopened during the pandemic. So the library system was still very active during the pandemic. And, thanks to Olivia and her team, a lot of stuff, a great deal of improvement was accomplished while things had slowed down. And so one person who really stood out and to our minds during the pandemic, but even before, really since she got on, was Alexandra Copeland, who is the art curator of here at the main library throughout the system, but she's stationed here, right across the hallway. I usually don't like to talk publicly in the camera about what great artwork we have here as someone who has prosecuted art theft cases, but we do have great artwork in the system. Right. So we have, so Alexandra really has an eye for the value of what we have here and has really done a great job in changing the way things are displayed, the way things are explained to a general audience, enable students to learn through the objects that we have here, and has really connected with patrons in a way that makes their experience here so much richer, and has worked closely with the Art Museum too to help foster what they're trying to do there in a similar vein. So I really wanted to recognize her for her out-of-the-box thinking and just her determination to make things make things even better than they are. So Alexandra, congratulations.
Oh, you want to go in front of
On this side, please.
Okay. I'll do in front of Eloise.
This is Gina, yes.
That's good if you want to change it up. So.
Well done. So next up is someone from personnel, and as Judy will tell you, so personnel, especially during the pandemic, can feel behind the scenes, right? Or just behind the scenes, except for certainly for folks like me, who see the hard work all the time, and what personnel is there ultimately to do is to make sure, consistent with the New Bedford Way, is to ensure that that people are put in positions to succeed, that everyone is put into a position to do their very best for the city. And so one person who really exemplifies that ethos is Jenny Fuller, who's been an HR assistant for a number of years now, but she just is someone who just hustles all the time and just looks for new ways to get stuff done. One of the things that she's been instrumental in is many of you are familiar with this initiative, is implementing the centralized payroll program, which is really key to making things much more efficient in city government, much more streamlined. It's a really big deal, right? It's not like the kind of thing that offers up a sexy headline, centralized payroll. But let me tell you, when it comes to making the place go, it's a really big deal. And so she's played a big part in that. She's juggled a lot all the time. She's always pitching in and looking out for the mission of her office in the city more broadly. And she's just adept at handling tricky situations. So the department heads, in particular here, can empathize with what it feels like to deal with difficult personnel situations. And so she is somebody who has those skills to enable good outcomes. And so I can't thank her enough for her multitude of accomplishments and the breadth of her skill set. She's really done a great job for us, so I wanted to make sure that she was recognized this year. Jenny. So the next person that we're honoring is a member of the planning department, somebody who has had a big imprint on the city for many years. It's the city's historic planner, and that is LOURO, who has recently become an assistant city planner. Still has, don't worry, she's still doing the historic stuff. So there have been many projects across the city that have had her fingerprints, and you know, it is a city that prides itself on its history and the emblems of its history, the built environment that reflects the city's whaling era and the textile era and everything in between. You know, she has played a huge role in making sure that we're getting grant money in, but also that it's implemented effectively and accomplishes what all those grants are set out to do. But in the last year and a half, she's really stepped up in a big way. We've had a great deal of turnover in the planning department. You know, we've and a lot of stability with Jen Carloni now in place, which is great, but there was a period during the pandemic when we didn't have that, and Ann stepped right on and kept everything going. And having effective planning in the city that is continuous is really important. It's important to allow projects to move along. It's important for discrete planning efforts to move along. Because despite the pandemic, things don't stop. All of you know this. Like we had to get everything else done while we were reacting to the pandemic, and that's and really stepped up in a big way to ensure that happened. And you know, these included, by the way, things that are kind of really cool, like the parklets and stuff. She played a big role in that. The outdoor heaters, all these things that people said, hey, New Bedford's got, you know, you guys are doing some really creative stuff. Well, that was Ann. So, and she's done a lot of work on streamlining the permitting process along the way. She kept the trains running, and for that, Ann, are very grateful, and we are honored to be able to recognize you today for those efforts and many more in years past. So come on up.
Now you see this, all you other department heads, we're working with your flowers. Come on.
I'll take the flower. Oh, okay.
Now, next up's police, and you can fully expect Paul Oliveira to come up with a bouquet. That's the least he can do. All right. So the last award is going to a member of the police department who is a very well-known police officer in the city, and that is Leanne Fisher. Hey, Leanne, you're not supposed to cheer for yourself. But that's Leanne, right? No, perfect. So yeah, Leanne as you just witnessed, has a very infectious personality that she puts to great effect, not only as a school resource officer at Volk, but in everything else that she does for the department. And that's why, you know, she's loved by teachers and students and administrators, but by so many others in the public over the years. And, you know, frankly, it's, you know, we're in a period now where, you know, we're talking a lot about policing and the future of policing, and you know, I think every police department in the country could use a little bit of Leanne, right? It's just to be able to connect with people at a very relatable level, so that trust is built, right? And it's trust that enables all of us to interact with city government, particularly police, much more effectively. And that's how cities go. That's how we hold ourselves together. And so she just set such a great example. And it's been harder, obviously, during the pandemic in schools generally, but particularly, you know, just keeping people, you know, feeling like, you know, things are going to be okay. Leanne just excels at that. So we really wanted to recognize you today, Leanne, for all of your great work, especially in the last year and a half. So come on up and collect your reward.
He did give me my flowers, but I left them down.
All right, so that does, like, I just want to just conclude by saying, you know, I want to thank all the department heads for their recommendations. You know, they're very thoughtful and they're very important. This is just, it's important that we recognize great work. And although the honorees today don't have a monopoly on great work, there's a lot of great work going on. You know, these are folks that really set terrific examples, and so we appreciate what the department heads have done and bringing them forward and allowing them to shine because they deserve it. I just want to say, you know, just more generally, I really appreciate all the work that everybody's doing. The pandemic is still very much with us. I don't need to tell you that. Keep at it. It's going to get better. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm very grateful for your dedication, and so is the public. So right now it's like 2:45. I'm sure for those of you who are, you know, not off the clock, you can be right now because it's Friday. And it's, you know, it's Friday and it's 4 o'clock somewhere. So I hope you all have a great weekend. And thanks again. Happy holidays, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. Many thanks to personnel. I'm sorry, everybody. You got to hear this. Many thanks to personnel and Janet, Christina Connolly for all the work that you guys, Melissa Sears for all the work that you guys did to make this happen.